Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Teresa. I do videos on whatever I want because I don't like putting myself in a box. And today I thought I would do something a little bit different than I normally do on this channel since a lot of my stuff is health related, particularly with weight loss. I thought today I would do more work related content. And so I thought I would do toxic work environment versus healthy work environment. And this is not to signal out a specific company. Um, with that said, I might use examples from my personal life um, just to further explain my point. So, I guess in that sense, I might be signaling out a company, but I'm not going to use names or anything like that. But the overall intent is not to like signal anybody out. This really is just like overall general signs to look out for, specifically with the toxic work environments. And then we'll talk about the healthy environments and signs with that. So I'm just going to get right into it because it's kind of long. For those who actually don't know, I don't really think I've talked about it much on this channel. I'm actually a business major, and we've all had good and bad work experiences. And I think most people have definitely been in toxic work environments. And so, whether you know it or not, that's kind of why I'm making this a video. And then also to counteract that, I definitely want to point out the signs of a healthy work environment as well. So let's just get into it. I'm going to minimize this for a second. And I think my neighbors are kind of quiet right now. They were having like bursts of loudness that kind of sounded like a wrestling match, honestly. So if you hear them, again, I apologize. But we're just going to get right into it. So, we're going to start with the toxic signs first, and then we're going to go into the healthy signs next. So, the first thing is we're family. I don't know if you guys have ever been in an interview and they immediately say, "We're family here," or "We're like a family." That's immediately a sign of a toxic work environment. Yeah. If you know, you know. The next one is love bombing. So this definitely takes some explanation here. So usually with love bombing, what happens is a company will give you gifts for the littlest things. This can be for birthdays and just any holiday under the sun. Again, I'm going to pull from my own experience here. I was in a workplace where they would go, in my opinion, kind of extravagant with birthdays. They would get balloons, they would do a card for a birthday, which I think is fine. This was a small company, which totally okay. So you got the balloons, you got the card. Again, I think a card is completely fine depending on the size of the company. Don't see anything wrong with that. But then they would get lunch on the company for that person. This just might be a me thing just because of my weight loss journey. That's kind of a lot, especially if you have birthdays back to back to back, which we kind of did from December to like March. And in December, I was going to the doctor and I really needed to be careful with what I was eating because literally before going to the doctor in December, we had it wasn't even a birthday. Well, we had a birthday and then literally had a company outing for like Christmas. And I literally spoke to my like the owner of the company being like, I actually don't really want to go out. I will stay at the office because here's the truth. I'm on weight loss medication. I'm really close to like hitting this BMI, blah, 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 blah. Owner said she was actually on the same thing and basically gave me a whole lecture about how you shouldn't change your habits like right before going into the doctor, because it's like having a fever and then taking Tylenol right before going to the doctor. And looking back, I'm like, okay, I get that, but that's like two different things. It's comparing like apples to oranges. And so, yeah. So point is, they would do extravagant things for birthdays of buying lunch on the company, birthday card, balloons, small like holidays like May Day. We got like May Day baskets that were extravagant. Oh my gosh. Christmas gifts were extravagant. I literally got for Christmas from them like a desk organizer, sticky notes with a pen, that was like a set thing, a Harry Potter calendar, Hedwig nightlight, and a Harry Potter like charm bracelet. That's 5 things. And I was like, holy crap. We got like a huge freaking box of chocolates for Valentine's Day with these fake flowers, like so much stuff. So that's just examples of love bombing. That'll go into something else. Next thing is high employee turnover rate. Now, you definitely do not need to be a business major to understand high employee turnover rate. If you go into a company and you immediately start hearing about all the people that have left the company, and you start hearing about when they left the company, and if it's been a lot of people before you and they have left before like a year, that's high employee turnover rate right there. You can also Google the equation to figure it out. You just have to figure out what like timeline you're going to do it for. If you want to do it for like a solid year, and then you take the number of employees, I believe, times it by the number of like months, and then you get that turnover rate or something. You can Google it. Don't quote me on that. I have dyscalculia, which is a math disability. So, yeah, let me look it up right now to see what the actual equation is. It's a pretty easy equation. Employee turnover rate formula. Okay, so you're going to do number of employee separation, so the number of who left, divided by average number of employees. So the total of employees throughout like a specific timeline, specific number of months, and then times that by 100. And then that will give you that percentage. There you go. So that's how you can figure that out to get like the exact number. And generally the rule of thumb is let's see, trying to see if they define what like a high rate is. But I definitely say like if the rate is higher than probably like 70, 75, like that's a high employee turnover rate. Let me Google what is a high employee turnover rate. Like what percentage is bad? Yeah, because there is. Okay, they actually say general rule of thumb is actually a rate higher than 20%. And that usually indicates a problem with the work environment. So yeah, if you do the formula and you get more than 20%, that definitely indicates a problem with the work environment. So you can definitely try and figure that out. It's definitely hard to figure that out before you take the job, though. So, yeah. Okay, the next thing is no raises. I definitely figured this out with a specific job once I started. It was just me and again the owner of the company, and we started talking, and basically how I understood the conversation was the person was never going to give us raises. And we were already on a pretty low hourly rate to begin with. And I was like, that's not gonna do well for your business, first of all, because you're not going to be able to keep people if you don't give them raises, especially in this economy. Hate to say it, but the other thing is little to no growth, which kind of goes hand in hand with raises. Um, if you can't get your employees to grow, either financially or even professionally with offering different kinds of trainings or even up them in the company with different positions, then the company can also not sustain employees. So there's that. Another thing is gossip roams freely. And I have noticed in a lot of toxic work environments, now kind of depending on the company, but a lot of times if it's not necessarily service based, so you're not serving clients, um, gossip will run freely about clients and about clients slash customers, really customers, I should say. Gossip will run freely about customers behind closed doors and also about coworkers and past coworkers. And I think that is such a double standard there because if people get fired from a job, there is an expectation of like, okay, you got fired, you can't say anything bad about the company. But then, really, behind closed doors, the company is probably saying something bad about you. And I just think that is so, so messed up. Yeah. So that's just insane. And the reason why I kind of say if the company is not really like serving people, like serving clients, um, it really just kind of depends. Um, like I said, if it's something like a social service situation, that's kind of hard because you kind of have to be talking about the clients to other coworkers. Even though, like, yes, everything's confidential, there needs to be a collaborative like piece to it. So that's kind of why I put that in there. So I hope that made sense. The next thing is can exclude people. So again, I was in a job that I felt very excluded in. And that's really like strange for me, I'll say. And it was just really weird because I literally was right there and my coworkers would just bypass me all the time and go to my other coworker that was sitting literally right next to me. And I will never forget the one coworker would constantly say my other coworker's name, again, who was sitting right by me. And I was like, I'm like right here. I don't know why you're literally just purposefully excluding me from the conversation, but I'm sitting right here. Like, what the heck? So it can very much be like Mean Girls vibes, where it's like, you can't sit with us. And I hate to say it that way, but like, it's very much like that. And then you start to come off as like socially awkward, and it's like, no, that's not what it is. And then you kind of reflect on yourself, and it's like, oh crap, I'm becoming like a shell of a person. Like, nobody here is seeing my personality. Nobody here is really getting to know me. And now that I'm somewhere else, and I haven't even been there for a month yet. Actually, this coming Wednesday, it'll be a month. I definitely think people have seen my personality a bit. They're getting to know me, and it's just a way better situation. So, yeah, they can exclude you in a lot of ways, just by not including you in the conversation, by literally physically bypassing you to like have your coworker do all the work. Meanwhile, you're sitting there literally doing nothing, and it's like, what the heck? So there's that. Another thing is you can know too much about your coworkers' personal lives. Now you can kind of decide what exactly this means to you. I've gotten to know a lot about people's personal lives from a health side of things, and I don't even work in the health field. However, I care very, very deeply about people's healths, and it's interesting because people that I know personally don't even know about my YouTube channel. They don't know that I make videos based on health and weight loss. Um, in the past job, didn't even know I was on weight loss medication, except my one coworker who I was actually friends with. Still am friends with. I still talk to her. But yeah, there's other certain things that I know a little bit too much about, which a lot of people would be like, "Ooh, that's way too personal to know that about somebody." But just because of like age and stuff, I feel like it's probably not that personal. But yeah, there's just some things that I was like, ugh, that's a little too personal to know about coworkers. Uh, Dating life, I think, is just a different subject. 'Cause, like, um, it's pretty normal, but like when all they're talking about is all the problems in their dating life, I'm like, okay, especially if they're like young and they're kind of in like a step parent kind of situation, but they're not like married to the person or whatever, like, that's a situation in itself. Like, again, that's a little too personal, a little too complicated. Um, yeah. One of the more complicated ones is, my one coworker who also then became my friend. Just because of what we did, I had to know all of well, her one kid's, like, medical history. And then I ended up because I was friends with her, I ended up knowing her other kids and all of their medical history, and I obviously knew all of her medical history. So once we, like, hung out, I ended up getting, like, involved in all of that, and that was just, like, too much. Like, again, I care really deeply about people's medical histories. However, there's a degree that I'm, like, comfortable with versus, like, not really comfortable with, which is really interesting because of what I do now. I do have to know about medical histories and stuff like that, and, as I get more into the job, I will probably have to end up talking with doctors and that kind of thing. I obviously can't say too much, but Um, yeah, hopefully I don't get anything that's like too medically intense. But yeah, So you can kind of decide for yourself what you think is too much personally about your coworkers' personal lives, and I will counteract that with the healthy work environment. So the next thing is no employee morale whatsoever. So yeah, employees just are not motivated to come to work. They have no reason to really stay and do the job. Yeah. The next thing is poor communication. This is just a common thing amongst a lot of work environments, I feel like. The next thing is fear. The next thing is they say they are flexible to your needs, but then you request a full day or half day off, or even get sick, and then it's a big deal. I had a coworker after I left the workplace who texted me. I was just checking in on her. She told me that she requested like a half day off because she needed to go run this errand that was important. The place closed at like 4, which was before she got off, and then they ended up making, like, a huge deal of it, and I was like, "Dude, this is important because of the situation, had to do with her health, had to do with her vision, and they made, like, a whole deal out of this, like, no. No, 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 no." Um, Newsflash, if somebody's having issues with their vision, they then can't do the job, like, properly. That's gonna cause issues for them to do the job efficiently and properly. So chill out, you know? Um, yeah. I've also had people be like, I have allergy shots that I have to do. Um, and I did my recheck in March. Not like recheck, but like my yearly check in March. Found out that I'm gonna have to be doing these allergy shots for at least another 3 years tops, and that's kind of a lot. I'm trying to stick to it, like, once a month, but, um, yeah, that you kinda have to see how your body is, and considering I just moved to a new place, I really had to feel out each season and see how my body reacts, and my body has been going through it. And so I might have to go more often. And so I've had employers be like, yeah, that's totally fine. We can work with you with that. And then I do my appointments and they make a huge deal out of the allergy shots. And little do they know, the allergy shots actually qualify under ADA because allergies are actually a disability because if you go into anaphylaxis, well, guess what? You can't do your job properly. So then they actually don't know that they can get into legal trouble. Um, so yeah, jobs like that make a big deal out of you taking like time off or something, definitely red flag in that. So yeah, and there's just a whole lot that don't understand like disability and stuff like that. That is a whole nother video I can make as well. So, we're almost done with the toxic jobs, but here's a big one I really want to point out. Some policies are too strict with too strict of consequences. So, like a phone policy. Now, I will explain this. I was at a job that was way, way, way too strict with the phone policy after like a situation had happened. Now, we could not use our phones except for our lunch break, which was from 12 to 1. At the time, I was trying to get my stuff situated. So, with allergies, it's a serum, and I needed to get the serums shipped to where I'm at now. And the thing is, where they were located was in North Dakota. I'm currently in the state next to North Dakota, which is Montana. There is an hour difference because North Dakota is Central Time. Montana is Mountain Time. And so, with that, I could not always be just calling the clinic in North Dakota at 12 our time and through 1 o'clock their time because I could not always talk to a nurse during those hours. Therefore, I kind of needed the flexibility to call whenever I could. Obviously, being a responsible adult, I was not going to be on my phone when helping a customer. Um, this really annoyed the crap out of me because I was like, first of all, we have people here who have children that are in school. And if anything happened to those children when they are in school, like we had really bad snow days, and my coworker's kid ended up having an early out because of the snow, guess what? Like, she needs her phone on her to know that to arrange something to go and get her kids. Obviously, if her kids end up sick at school, she needs her phone to know that information. So again, she can arrange to get her kids. And generally, hopefully, if your kids are sick, you as the parent are the one to take off and go take care of that situation. Um, what I also learned is that there are businesses in town that have like the same hours as we did. So they would also take lunch from 12 to 1 and they would have the same days as us where they're not open on weekends. So I was like, what? The other thing is, what if you go to the doctor in the morning before work and they run tests and then your doctor calls with those test results? And maybe your doctor takes lunch at the same time your lunch is. How do you call them back if you're working like the same hours as your doctor? Because for me, I was working from 8 a.m. until 5:30. Like, yeah, that's just a little too much for me personally. Like I said, there's just too many factors within that. Um, Obviously, I understand like within reason, you shouldn't be on your phone. You shouldn't be on your phone when you're with a customer, whatever. But again, there's medical things that pop up if you have children, you know, there's that. So the last thing with that I will say for toxic environments is something to be aware about is if they aren't considering either your education certificates or your experience to figure out starting wage or putting that into consideration with wage in general, then that's a concern. I took 2 jobs that actually did fall under my degree, and none of them really took that into consideration with pay. And I know this is a little bit different just because degree and stuff is changing a bit when it comes to jobs. And that's why I added in that sentence experience as well. All of that should be considered with your pay. And so if they're not really considering that and then considering bumping up pay just a little bit, that's a concern. So that's everything with the toxic environment. I'm going to quickly get through the healthy environment since this is already so long. So the next section is the healthy environment, and I will say this is a lot from recent experience for me, but this again is just general as like a whole. So, first couple is actually really towards bosses and managers. So, just stay with me. So, supported boss and manager who uses we. One of the biggest things with a healthy environment and just like a really good overall manager is somebody who uses we in a sentence. They don't use the word I and make it all about them. Um, this is how you can tell that somebody is a leader versus a manager. And that's a really huge thing. So that's how you can tell that somebody is also being really supportive as well. And like I said, there is a huge, huge difference between being a manager versus a leader. And one huge indicator is using the word we versus I. The next thing is bosses slash manager who feeds into how you best respond to motivation and constructive criticism and how really you receive feedback. So, what I love about my current manager, I'm gonna feel so weird if she ends up finding this video and she makes it this far into the video. But what I love about one of my current managers is I respond super well to words of affirmation. So if she comes around, excuse me. Okay, so she comes around, she sees that I'm doing something good, and she just simply says, like, good job, Teresa. Then in like a positive tone, then I'm good. Like I will respond super, super positive to that because that is actually part of my love language. And so I will respond just really good to that. The next thing is, let's see. Okay. Supportive boss slash manager who roots for you, supports you, and generally makes sure you are okay outside of work and actually shows it. I'm gonna have to explain this. So earlier this week, um, I've been trying to deal with like getting disability through like the state. And this is something that I've been trying to do since I was in North Dakota. And it's just carried on since I moved here to Montana. And I learned that I probably can't get it because I'll be like over income and whatever. And because of what we do, my manager knows a lot about this. Because I guess I can say this part. We do work with adults with disabilities. And she got a letter in an email or something, and it was from probably my like social security person or whatever, just about like wages and a bunch of other stuff. So she pulled me into her office and she just told me about this letter and just straight up told me that you probably won't be able to get it because of you'll end up being over income. And I said, okay, yeah, I think I know that after they had called me the other day. And then I looked up the income limit for it. And I think if I did everything correctly, the math correctly, I think I figured it out. And then she started talking to me about how there's like two different components to like disability or whatever. And she started explaining to me how really it's more important to have the medical side to it than the income side to it. And unfortunately, a lot of people with disabilities only kind of find out about the income side versus the medical side. And so throughout the conversation, she just said, like, I have your back in this. And if you want to talk more about it, we can. And I want to make sure like you're okay outside of work too. And so like I won't lie, like I kind of got like my throat kind of like tightened up a little bit talking to her because I was like, oh crap, okay. Because if you guys have watched any of my videos about having a disability, And I've talked about going through trying to get disability through the state and whatever. I've explained how it's really like you're going through it by yourself because I don't have any family members who have gone through it, tried to go through the process. Um, they don't know anything about it, so I'm literally trying to figure it out on my own. So to have somebody who knows about it is great and who knows like another resource as well and can like help me figure it out means a lot to me. So, yeah, and it doesn't have to be in that way that a manager supports you. Um, I mentioned to her the other day that I'm a theater kid and that, she said we have theaters, adult theaters here in town, and if you're ever in a show, like, I would absolutely come and see you in a show and be screaming at you in the audience when it's appropriate. And I was like, "Okay, like, I'll let you know when I'm doing a show then." So, yeah, having somebody who's supportive in that is, like, really huge. If you have, like, kids and they go and see something that, like, your kid is in, um, I know some people, like some managers do that, and that's so, so amazing and so important, you know? Um, yeah, so there's that. The next thing is a workplace where people talk more about their hobbies and are about their hobbies and what activities/events they are doing attending outside of work than talking about their personal lives. So this is what I noticed right away in my new workplace is a lot of people talked more about their hobbies and what activities they were attending than their personal lives. Um, yeah, and that might just be the nature of our job. I don't know. And it's kind of been really nice. Do not know a lot about their personal lives. And what's going on to a degree. Obviously, like, I care about my coworkers, I hope they're all doing well and stuff like that, but it's nice to know, like, what kind of hobbies are they into? We have a lot of crafty people at the office, and I freaking love that. Like, oh, I just love it so much. And so, yeah, that's just been, like, a really nice fresh of breath air, and yeah. The next thing is having moments of genuine laughter, joy, and fun. This is something that I did not really think about until I was writing this list. I honestly, since I was working in a daycare, which sounds insane, because that was when I was back in high school, I have not really been in a work environment where I was generally like having fun, laughing, like genuinely laughing and just like being happy in a workplace because I've been in way too many environments that have been toxic. And so it's nice to be in a workplace where like generally having fun and being happy and like laughing my face off. Um and yeah, and it's great because of just the nature of what I do. Um I don't want to give too much away, but I get to go out with these clients who have disabilities and we get to go out in the community and some things we get to do is like go bowling, go shopping. um, there's that saying that you don't want your life to be all work and no play, and I honestly think because of my job I get to do both. I get to work and play like at the same time, which is really cool and really unique. So yeah. Yeah, I just find myself generally laughing a lot in the office, and that's really great. The next thing is feeling included, welcomed, and valued in the company. Oh my gosh, I had one of my coworkers come up to me like after I finished my training and literally tell me that I was a great asset to the company, and I hadn't even started working with clients yet. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so sweet." And I adore this coworker so much, and there's actually something that I've been needing to tell her. Um, but yeah, just feeling so welcomed is such a healthy thing, and I loved it. I loved that feeling, and the just shout out to my current workplace for being so welcoming to the newbies that start there, because it's too easy to go into a workplace where, again, you feel isolated. And I mean, I was just talking about this with a different coworker the other day, and it's awkward because, you're trying to get to know everybody, and then they're also trying to get to know you. And I'm like, I'm still trying to learn names over here. Like, I think I know everybody on, like, this side that I work on, but now I'm also being incorporated on the other side, so I need to learn everybody's name on the other side, and then also, like, on the, like, administration side. So, still working on that. But, yeah, everybody's just been so welcoming and kind, which is a huge, huge thing, um, and who, like, have not been afraid of striking up conversations and just, like, I don't know, including me in conversations too, which I've noticed. So there's that. Few more things and then we're almost done. This is so long. This is going to be my longest video ever. Having a safe environment to try certain things. I was going to say, like, to take risks, which, yes, that counts, but I wanted to say, like, try certain things because just depending on the situation of, like, taking risks. Because of, like, what we do, we have to try certain things with clients, um, to meet goals. One thing might not work with them, and then we have to evaluate and try something else. A lot of times that includes thinking out of the box of how to meet that goal if they're being really resistant to something, you know, and that's kind of the fun thing about it. And for me, it's a lot of fun as well, because then I can kind of be my nerdy self and do a lot of research on a certain thing and then tap into, you know, is this linked to something containing this or containing that, you know? Um, and yeah, kind of get to work together. I get to work with coworkers and see what's kind of going on. Why is this happening, I guess? Um, and yeah, so that's nice. And I think that kind of goes into my other point of a collaborative and work environment. I love how collaborative this work environment is. I can't say too much about this situation, but I can say that I had a situation come up in the meeting last week about somebody, and somebody didn't know what to do and asked all of us for input, and that was really nice because two of us brand new and we didn't know anything really about the situation. They filled us in on it, and with the entire team, we kind of brainstormed solutions and said our 2 cents. And so that was really nice. So being able to collaborate with coworkers is really important. Um, Feeling safe enough to collaborate is really important. And so, yeah, especially when you're brand new and you're working with clients that you're trying to get to know, obviously, and you work with coworkers who have been there longer than you have, who know more than you do, and who are so freaking nice and are there for you and are like, let us know if you need help with anything. it's, being in an environment where it's safe enough to be like, yeah, I can go to this coworker and use them as a resource is also really good. Let's see. Okay, three more things, and then I'll wrap this up. Safe place to talk about your feelings with your manager. Having a safe space to talk about how you really feel with your manager is so important. I've seen a lot of people go into my manager's office, sometimes not in a good mind space, and they take care of what they need to take care of, and they work through it and do what they need to do, and that's that. So creating, what is it? I looked it up the one time, and having like emotional safety in a workplace is really important. And if you don't have that, that goes into a toxic work environment. But if you have that, that goes into a healthy work environment. And so if you have emotional safety and psychological safety in your workplace, that all goes into a safe work environment. So that's really important because things happen where you're just not mentally okay. Excuse me. And you just have to be honest with your supervisor or whoever about what happened and give your side of the story, especially, I will say, when you work with clients, just from stories that I've heard. And you know what? It's okay. So, yeah, next two things: offers benefits and understands that most, if not all, the benefits are protections for you as an employee. I have been in way too many toxic environments. Okay, really one. Really one. But I do know that there are more toxic environments that don't even offer benefits for employees. The insane thing is that one environment could spend all the money on love bombing us with all these gifts, but not spend money on benefits for their employees. And they were a small company. Yeah, red flag. But in a healthy environment, they understand that spending the money on benefit packages are really benefiting you as an employee. Even though, yes, they as a company have to put the money into it, they understand that it's to protect you. Also, they would understand that benefit packages are also a way to maintain their employees. So there's that. And the last thing for healthy work environment is has raises and is flexible to your needs. So having raises periodically is a bonus. Again, it's a way to maintain your current employees, and also they are flexible to your needs. You're not, you know, raising fear in any of your employees for calling out because you have a sick kid or anything like that. Very, very flexible to work with when there's appointments that need to be made. Um, and yeah, so that is it, you guys. This is such a long video. If you guys like this, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe down below. Let me know what you guys think of this kind of content. If you guys liked it or not. This is just so different from my channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the bell for notifications. I almost forgot my outro. By almost, I mean like I clearly did forget my outro. Hit the bell for notifications. I post every single weekend, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.